I live in a modest apartment building in a quiet neighborhood of Portland, Oregon. It's not the kind of place where strange things usually happen. Most of my neighbors are retirees, young couples, or students. Everyone keeps to themselves. And for years, the atmosphere was predictable and safe. That changed 3 months ago, the day the new tenant moved into apartment 304. I didn't see him arrive during the day. There were no moving trucks, no furniture deliveries. One night, around 2 a.m., I was half asleep on my couch when I heard the elevator doors creak open. It's an old elevator, and at that hour, it's usually silent. I peeked through the peephole and saw a tall, thin man in a long black coat, stepping out, holding nothing but a single, old-fashioned leather suitcase. He didn't look around, didn't greet anyone, just walked straight to apartment 304, unlocked the door, and disappeared inside. The next morning, I expected to see him again, maybe coming down for groceries or coffee, but he never did. Over the next few days, I noticed something peculiar. I never saw him during daylight hours, not once. The blinds in his apartment were always drawn, the lights always off during the day. Then, on the fourth night, I saw it for the first time. It was 3:33 a.m. exactly. My eyes shot open for no reason, like I'd been woken up by something I couldn't hear. I got up for a glass of water and happened to glance through my living room window, which faced the courtyard. There he was. The new tenant was standing at the center of the courtyard, perfectly still, staring up at the sky. He didn't move, didn't shiver despite the cold. He just stood there, head tilted back for at least 10 minutes. Then, without a word, he turned and went back into the building. It became a pattern. Every single night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., he would leave his apartment, walk outside, and stand in that exact spot in the courtyard, always looking up, always silent. I began to notice other strange details. No one had ever seen him receive mail. The building manager swore he didn't even have a mailbox assigned. His apartment door never had packages outside it, and I never once saw anyone visit him. My curiosity started to eat away at me. So one night, I decided to stay awake and watch him more closely. That night, I sat in the dark by my window, waiting. At 3:33 a.m., right on schedule, his door opened. I could see the light from the hallway spilling across his pale face. For just a second before he stepped into the shadows. But this time, he wasn't alone. Behind him, for a split second, I saw someone standing just inside his apartment. A shape taller than him, not moving. The second the door closed, the figure was gone from view. My stomach turned cold. I knew I hadn't imagined it. He walked to the courtyard again, and I realized he wasn't just staring at the sky. He was mouthing something. Words, slow, deliberate, repetitive. I couldn't hear them, but I could see the movement of his lips. It went on for nearly 20 minutes. When he finally came back inside, I stayed frozen by the window, my heart pounding. Just before disappearing into his apartment, he stopped at my door. I heard his breathing through the thin wood dot, and then, very softly, he whispered, "You shouldn't be watching." I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat on my couch, staring at my front door, trying to convince myself I'd misheard him. Maybe he'd been talking to himself. Maybe he was on the phone. But deep down, I knew he was speaking directly to me. The next morning, I tried to shake it off, but the building felt different. The usual quiet was still there, but now it felt like a suffocating silence, the kind that makes you constantly look over your shoulder. I avoided passing by apartment 304. I even started taking the stairs, just so I wouldn't have to share the elevator with him. That evening, I ran into Mrs. Thompson, the elderly woman from 301. She was carrying her groceries, so I helped her to her door. As we chatted, I brought up the new tenant casually, asking if she'd met him. She frowned immediately. "You mean Mr. Cole?" she asked. "I don't know his name," I admitted. "Tall guy, black coat." She nodded slowly. "He's been here before, you know, years ago. But he didn't stay long that time either." That made me pause. "Before? What do you mean?" Mrs. Thompson's voice dropped to a whisper, like she was afraid someone would overhear. "Back in 1998, same man, same apartment. He left after the police came. Never saw him again till now." A cold shiver ran down my spine. That would mean he hadn't aged in over 2 decades. Before I could press for more, she shook her head. "I don't want to talk about it. Stay away from him, dear." Then she closed her door. That night, I tried to force myself to sleep early, hoping I could avoid seeing him. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., I woke up again. This time, I didn't look out the window. I stayed in bed, holding my breath. But then, I heard it. A slow, deliberate knock on my door. 3 times, dot, another 3 knocks. Louder, dot. I wanted to yell, to tell him to go away, but my voice wouldn't come out. I grabbed my phone and checked the peephole camera feed. The hallway was empty. I set the phone down, my hands trembling, but before I could even exhale, I heard footsteps walking away soft, measured, almost echoing. The next day, I decided I needed answers. I waited until the building manager, Mr. Daniels, was in his office. I told him I was concerned about the man in 304. Daniels' face went pale. "I can't talk about that tenant," he said firmly. "Why not?" I pressed. "It's complicated. Let's just say he pays in cash, always on time, and the lease is special." That only made me more suspicious. "Special how?" Daniels leaned in. "Look, I've been here 10 years. He's been here longer than me. And the thing is, no one's ever seen him move in or out. Not once. Tenants come and go, but he's just here, like he's part of the buildings." I left more unsettled than before. That night, I decided to record him. I set up my phone on the windowsill, aimed at the courtyard, and hit record at 3:30 a.m. I sat in the dark, pretending to be asleep. At 3:33, he appeared right on schedule. He stood in his spot, head tilted back, lips moving. Then something happened I wasn't prepared for. He stopped, slowly turned his head, and looked directly into my camera. Not just a glance. His eyes locked onto the lens, like he knew it was there. He smiled, and then, without moving his lips, I heard his voice in my head. Delete that. I nearly dropped my phone. My body felt like it had been dunked into ice water. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even blink. That voice, it wasn't like hearing someone speak through the door or a wall. It was inside my skull. Deep, cold, absolute. My hands shook so hard I almost knocked the phone off the windowsill. I ended the recording instantly. For a moment, I just stared at the delete button on the screen. A part of me thought maybe I'd imagined it, but another part whispered that imagining it was impossible. Then the air in my apartment changed. It was subtle at first, like the room had grown heavier, the air thicker, harder to breathe. A faint hum filled the space, almost too low to notice, like the building's electrical wiring was vibrating. And then my phone turned off, not just the screen going black dead, completely dead, even though it had been charging. I backed away from the window and grabbed my baseball bat from the closet. My heart pounded in my ears. Every part of me screamed to get out, but my legs wouldn't move. I felt watched. That's when the knocking started. Not on my door this time, on the walls. It began faintly behind my couch. 3 slow knocks. Then 3 more, closer to the kitchen. Then, impossibly, I heard them coming from inside the wall directly behind me. I turned, pressing my back to the farthest corner of the room. The knocks stopped, and I swear I heard breathing inside the drywall. I ran to my bedroom, locked the door, and climbed into the far corner, clutching the bat like a lifeline. My phone was still dead. Then, at exactly 4:04 a.m., everything stopped. The humming, the breathing, the oppressive weight in the air. It all just lifted. I didn't sleep. The next day, I called my friend Nate, who works in security systems. I told him I needed a camera in my apartment and one outside in the hallway, just for peace of mind. He came by that evening and installed them both. That night, I watched the hallway feed live on my laptop, determined to catch something. At 3:33 a.m., I saw the tenant leave his apartment, but the camera didn't capture him clearly. The footage warped, his shape distorted, like static on an old TV. The closer he got to the lens, the worse it became. He stopped directly in front of my camera. Through the distortion, I could make out just one detail perfectly. His eyes. They were black, not like dark brown, not even shadowed. They were pure, lightless voids. And then the hallway light flickered. When it came back, he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just gone. The next morning, I checked the footage. That section of the video, the moment he stood in front of my door, was missing, like it had been cut out. Nate swore it was impossible for the camera to delete its own files. That's when I started keeping my door locked at all times, even when I was home. But deep down, I knew locks wouldn't matter. 2 nights later, I decided to break my own rule. I was done waiting for him to make the next move. At 3:25 a.m., I stood in the dark hallway outside my apartment, holding my breath, the only light coming from the dim emergency exit sign at the far end. My baseball bat was gripped so tightly in my hands that my knuckles were white. The building was silent, so silent I could hear my own heartbeat. Then, at exactly 3:33 a.m., I heard it, the soft click of a lock turning. The door to 304 opened. He stepped out slowly, wearing the same long black coat, the same blank expression. But up close, I could see his skin was wrong, too smooth, like porcelain. No pores, no imperfections. I stayed in the shadows, heart thundering, praying he wouldn't see me. He walked past me without turning his head, moving toward the courtyard. Like always, I followed, silent, every step, making my pulse race faster. When he reached the courtyard, he stopped in the exact center, head tilted back, eyes to the sky. Only this time, I heard the words, a low, guttural chant in a language I didn't recognize. The sound felt wrong, like it was bypassing my ears and vibrating directly in my bones. And then the air shifted. The sky above him rippled. The stars seemed to bend, warping in unnatural patterns, like I was looking through water suddenly. He stopped chanting and said in a perfectly clear voice, "You can come closer now." I froze. Slowly, his head turned, not just his head, but his entire upper body pivoted unnaturally far, until his black, empty eyes locked on mine. He smiled. "You've been watching for long enough," he whispered. "It's time to see what's behind the door." Before I could move, I felt something behind me, something tall, looming, its breath icy on the back of my neck. The same presence I'd glimpsed inside his apartment that night. A hand long, pale, impossibly cold rested on my shoulder. The tenant stepped forward, still smiling, and said, "It's open now." The next thing I knew, I was inside his apartment. I don't remember walking in. I don't remember crossing the hallway, but I was there, standing in a room that should not exist. The walls were black, not painted but alive, shifting like a swarm of insects. The air stank of rot and something older, metallic, like blood. In the center of the room was a single door. It wasn't attached to a wall, just standing upright, alone. It pulsed. "Step through," he said. I shook my head, stumbling backward. The pale hand still gripped my shoulder, now tightening with a strength that felt inhuman. "Step through," he repeated. I don't remember what happened next. I woke up in my own bed at sunrise, drenched in sweat, my phone lying on my chest, turned on and showing the time. 3:33 a.m. The hallway camera feed was gone. Every file from that night erased. I went to 300 for the next day. The door was wide open. Inside, nothing. Completely empty. No furniture, no boxes, no signs anyone had ever lived there. The building manager swore no one had rented that apartment in months. But last night, at exactly 3:33 a.m. I heard knocking on my door again, 3 times, and then, softly, "It's open now."